Kiri floated between black metal fragments from her mother's broken ship. The vast emptiness of space felt like a cold ocean around her small body. She held onto a twisted beam for support, her green skin shining faintly in the dim light of distant stars. She longed for her mother's gentle voice. Her heart ached from the loss. Kiri gently reached inside her suit's pocket and felt a small, holographic picture of her and her mother. The image showed them smiling on a lush green world, holding hands beneath two yellow suns. She traced the outline of her mother's face with trembling fingertips. Her tears floated in tiny beads before her visor. She whispered her mother's name, hoping the stars might answer her call. She managed to reach the ship's central console with trembling fingers. She pressed buttons at random, hoping to find power. Finally, the console hummed, and a soft blue glow spread across a small screen. She tapped a symbol of a small ship, and at once the console sent out a faint signal. It drifted into the void, a lonely call for help. She wished someone would hear it. She dared to hope again. Meanwhile, a human freighter, named Aurora's Hope, traveled on its trade route. At the bridge, Captain Alina Reyes studied her instruments. The hum of the engines and the quiet chatter of her crew filled the room. Suddenly, her communication panel beeped with an unfamiliar trace. She leaned close and adjusted the dial. The beacon was weak but clear, a distress call from deep space. "Set course for that signal," she said in calm voice. Her crew members nodded. They worked quickly to plot the beacon's position. Lena watched them with steady eyes. She felt a tug in her heart for the unknown caller. She remembered her own lost family and how pain can last. The freighter changed direction and moved toward the source. On the wreckage, Kiri waited. She hugged her mother's locket to her chest and closed her eyes against how cold she felt. She did not dare hope. She had lost hope when the big explosion ripped through her home. When the human ship arrived, bright lights shone across the debris field. Kiri heard a soft hum grow louder. She looked up and saw a shape of silver metal. Deep voice spoke through her suit speakers. "This is Captain Alina Reyes of Aurora's Hope. We are here to help." For the first time, Kiri felt a spark of relief. Alina directed her crew to send out a small rescue shuttle. It glided through the wreckage like a bird. Two members of the crew, a man named Joran and a woman named May, opened the shuttle's rear hatch. They held soft blankets and warm packs. Kiri climbed inside with careful steps. Joran wrapped her in a blanket. May offered her a cup of warm liquid. Kiri sipped slowly, tasting sweet comfort for the first time. They gently unfastened Kiri's suit and helped her sit. The cold lights of the docking bay gave way to the warmer walls of the shuttle. The air inside felt soft on her skin. Kiri looked at the two humans, her eyes wide with both fear and wonder. They spoke softly in the human language. Lena came in after them and knelt beside Kiri. "You are safe now," Alina said. Her voice was calm and kind. She placed a hand on her heart as if offering her own strength. Kiri nodded and felt tears gather. She did not know the words for thank you, but she bowed her head. Alina smiled and gently placed a hand over Kiri's. "We will help you," she said. "But..." Kiri looked up, finally finding the courage to believe. "But..." In that moment, she realized she was not truly alone. New hope shone like a star in the dark reaches of space. She woke to a soft hum and gentle light. The room around her was warm and clean. She blinked twice and saw Captain Alina Reyes standing nearby. Lena offered a small bowl of warm porridge with sweet fruit slices. Kiri held the bowl with both hands and took a cautious sip. The taste was unlike anything she had tried before. It felt smooth and comforting. She smiled shyly at Alina. The captain smiled back and spoke in calm tones. Kiri could understand some words, but not all. Still, the kindness was clear. After breakfast, Alina led Kiri to the ship's main corridor. The walls glowed with soft white panels. Crew members moved quietly, each busy with their tasks. Joran, the engineer, waved as they passed. May the medic nodded with a friendly grin. Kiri nodded back, trying to copy their greetings. She felt her confidence grow. At the end of the corridor, Alina opened a door to the hydroponic garden. Rows of green plants reached toward bright lamps. Alina handed Kiri a small watering can. Alina showed Kiri how to water the young sprouts. Kiri lifted the can carefully and watched the water drip onto the soil. Tiny plants shivered as if in thanks. She repeated the task with care. Alina pointed to a ripe tomato hanging low. "You can pick it," she said. Kiri reached up and gently twisted the tomato. It fell into her hand with a soft thud. She held it up and admired its bright color. Then she bit into it. Warm juice filled her mouth. She closed her eyes in delight. Alina laughed softly, pleased to see her joy. Later, they sat in a small lounge. Filled with books and soft seats, Alina opened an old storybook from Earth. The pages showed simple pictures of people and animals. She read aloud in a gentle voice. Kiri listened, her eyes shining with wonder. She reached out to touch the pictures. Alina translated each word, making it easy to follow. They spent long minutes on each page. Other crew members joined quietly, enjoying the calm moment. Laughter bubbled when the story spoke of friendly creatures. Kiri felt her heart lighten. She understood that stories could heal. In the afternoon, Kiri explored the cargo bay with May's permission. Large crates lined the walls, each marked with symbols. May handed her a tablet showing simple labels. Kiri studied the symbols and matched them to the crates. She tapped each symbol on the screen and then pointed to the correct box. Softly in praise, Kiri beamed with pride. She'd helped the crew in her own small way. Round her, the freighter felt less like a machine and more like home. Her grief did not vanish, but it felt gentler. As the ship drifted through space, the artificial sky above the observation deck shimmered with stars. Kiri stood before the large window, staring into the silent beauty. She thought of her mother, and the bright green world they had known together. She touched the locket at her neck and felt warmth again. Captain Alina joined her and placed a hand on her shoulder. No words were needed. Kiri nodded and leaned into the comfort. That night, she slept in a soft bed beneath the hum of the engines. For the first time since her loss, she dreamed of hope. She woke with a start. Her small chest rose and fell in quick, shallow breaths. The dim light of the bunk room filtered through a small window. Kiri's heart still pounded from the dream. She had seen the explosion again, bright flames, the echo of her mother's voice calling her name. She pulled the blanket close and blinked away the tears. For a moment she felt alone in the dark room, the weight of loss heavy on her small shoulders. May, the ship's medic, slipped inside quietly. She carried a small cup of warm tea that smelled of herbs. "You had a bad dream?" May asked in a soft voice. May nodded, her eyes wide. May sat beside her and handed over the cup. The warm liquid soothed Kiri's throat and calmed her breathing. "Dreams can bring back pain," May said kindly, "but they can also show us what we must heal." She smiled gently, giving Kiri a steadying hand. After a moment, Kiri found her voice. "I heard Mother's voice," she whispered. Her green skin glowed faintly in the low light. May nodded. "Still lives in your heart," she said. "Your mother was brave. She saved you." Kiri closed her eyes, picturing her mother's proud face. She remembered soft laughter, bright gardens, and warm days under twin suns. The memory brought both comfort and fresh grief. She let a single tear roll down her cheek. May led Kiri to the lounge where Alina waited with a small tray. On it lay 2 simple cups and a hollow picture of Kiri with her mother. Alina's eyes were kind but serious. She gestured toward the picture. "Tell me about her," Alina said. Kiri sat across from Alina and studied the image. With trembling fingers, she traced her mother's smile. She told them how her mother taught her to read the stars and name the constellations. She spoke of bedtime stories whispered beneath the night sky. Each word eased her sorrow. Alina listened with quiet attention. When Kiri finished, Alina shared a story of her own. She spoke of her home world, a small planet called Terra Nova. She described her own mother's gentle hands and the laughter in her childhood home. Alina's voice wavered as she spoke of laws of flood that took her mother long ago. Kiri watched as strong lines of courage softened on Alina's face. For the first time, Kiri knew she was not the only one with a broken heart. That evening, the crew gathered in the cargo bay. They formed a small circle around a single glowing lantern. Joran placed a flower from the hydroponic garden at its base. Each member bowed their head as Alina spoke a quiet word of honor for Kiri's mother. Kiri stood beside May and Alina, holding her mother's locket tightly. She felt the warmth of the group behind her. No words were spoken, but each presence was a promise. She would not face her grief alone as the vigil ended. Alina placed a gentle hand on Kiri's shoulder. "Your mother's memory lives with you," she said.
Us.
"And she lives with us now, too." Kiri looked up at the faces of her new family. She felt a spark of hope kindle inside her chest. The loss still ached, but it felt less heavy when shared. She knew that healing was a path she would walk with these humans by her side. That night, Kiri slept again under the hum of the engines. Her dreams came softly this time, stars shining bright, her mother's laugh echoing like music. Ouch! She reached out in sleep and felt a gentle hand close around hers. In the quiet bridge of the ship, Captain Alina watched over her. Kiri dreamed of tomorrow, of new stories to share, and of finding strength in both memory and new beginnings. Kiri stepped into the soft glow of the engineering bay for the first time. Metal panels lined the walls, and gentle hums came from pipes and wires overhead. Joran smiled as he caught her curious gaze. "Want to help?" he asked in his calm voice. Kiri nodded. She had learned that helping others made her feel stronger inside. Joran handed her a small datapad. The screen showed a simple diagram of the garden's irrigation pumps. "Yesterday's storm caused a clog," he explained. "Can you follow the map and clear it?" Kiri studied the lines on the pad, tracing each pipe with her finger. She memorized the path down to the last valve. Then, with steady steps, she followed Joran through narrow walkways to the hydroponic chamber. Inside, the air smelled fresh with green living things. Kiri spotted the pump at the base of the largest grow bed. She knelt beside it and gently removed the transparent cover. Water dripped slowly from the clogged filter. Using the tiny brush Joran had given her, she cleared the fine mesh with soft strokes. She worked carefully, knowing that the fragile roots above depended on this water. When the last speck of debris fell away, she replaced the cover and gave the pump a cautious tap. The system hummed back to life. Water flowed evenly through the tubes, and the plants above swayed as if to say thanks. Joran pressed a button on the datapad. "All clear," he announced with a grin. "Great work, Kiri." She beamed at the praise. In that moment, she felt useful and part of the crew's purpose. Later, Alina invited Kiri to the bridge. The room was bright with star charts and blinking consoles. Alina showed her how humans read navigation data. Kiri watched as lines of light traced safe paths through asteroid fields. Then Alina handed Kiri a small chart. "Plot the next course," she said. Kiri's green eyes widened, but she accepted the task. She traced a route from their current position to the next spaceport, avoiding debris and strong gravity wells. Alina checked her work and nodded. "Well done," she said. The sound made Kiri's chest swell with pride. During the meal shift, May asked Kiri to help prepare fresh fruit for the crew. In the galley's bright kitchen, Kiri sliced juicy berries and arranged them on a tray. She remembered her mother's gentle hands teaching her to cook simple meals under twin suns. Felt a soft pang of loss, but also comfort in sharing food, as her mother had once done for her. When the crew returned to the table, they greeted her warmly and tasted the fruit with appreciative nods. As the Aurora's Hope cruised through quiet space lanes, Kiri found a new routine. She balanced chores with lessons from the crew. Taught her basic engineering, May shared simple first aid skills, and Alina told stories of human worlds beyond the stars. Each day, Kiri's confidence grew. She stood taller and spoke more freely, using the human words she had learned. One afternoon, the freighter passed a drifting cargo pod marked lost. Alina suggested they investigate. Kiri joined the small team in a rescue shuttle. The pod floated alone, its lights dim. Kiri guided the shuttle's thrusters with careful taps, steering them close. Inside, they found a stranded supply container but no living being. The simple scan confirmed only supplies remained. Still, Kiri helped. Secure the pod to the shuttle's clamp. The work was quiet and delicate, and Kiri handled each lever with care. Back on deck, crew cheered the successful retrieval. Elena looked at Kiri with pride shining in her eyes. "You helped save these supplies," she said. "Supplies that?" "Help many." Kiri nodded, smiling broadly. She realized that any act of help, no matter how small, carried meaning. That night, Kiri sat at the observation window, watching stars drift by. She touched the locket at her neck, feeling both sorrow and new strength. She had begun to trust again. In the soft hum of the engines and the gentle lights of her human friends, she found a new hope. She was no longer a lost child. She was part of something greater, proof that kindness and courage could guide anyone through the darkest reaches of space. A sudden alarm cut through the steady hum of the Aurora's hope. Red lights pulsed along the corridor walls. Kiri froze for a heartbeat, then joined May and Joran as they hurried toward the engineering bay. The overhead speaker crackled with Elena's calm voice. "Solar flare incoming. Take shelter in engineering. Repeat, take shelter now." Inside the engineering bay, pipes and wires glowed under soft blue lights. Crew members moved quickly but carefully. Sparks danced as systems adjusted to the flare's incoming energy. Kiri's heart pounded, and she gripped the edge of a metal console. May touched her arm gently. "We are all right," May said. "Just help where you can." Joran pointed to a panel where loose cables dangled like vines. "Those must be secured before the surge hits," he said. "Will you help me, Kiri?" She nodded, swallowing hard. She followed him deeper into the bay, each step echoing on the metal floor above them. The bay's windows glowed bright orange as the flare's light washed across the ship's hull. A low rumble shook the deck. Kiri's breath caught in her throat, and she looked at Joran. He offered a steady smile. "We can do this together." Joran showed her how to use the cable clamps. He handed her a small tool. Kiri took it in her shaking hand and knelt beside a thick bundle of wires. With careful strokes, she tightened each clamp, pressing metal grips until the cables held firm against the wall. Sparks flickered briefly as the surge hit, but the wires remained secure. May moved nearby, fastening another panel. Their coordinated actions created a rhythm, one that chased away Kiri's fear. An alarm shrilled. The bay's lights flickered. Outside, the flare's power washed over the ship, but inside, only soft hums continued. The crew held their positions, focused on their tasks. Kiri straightened and wiped her palms on her pants. Her heart still raced, but she felt pride swell in her chest. When the final cable clicked into place, Joran pressed a button on his datapad. The readout turned green. "All secure," he announced. He knelt beside Kiri and ruffled her hair. "You were amazing." Kiri's cheeks warmed. She realized she had helped the crew when they needed her most. Elena's voice returned over the speaker. "The flare has passed. Stand down." The lights shifted back to their gentle blue. Crew members exhaled, trading smiles and relieved laughter. Kiri joined May and Joran, each breathing easier now. The moment felt like a small victory, a proof of their teamwork. Later, in the mess hall, the crew gathered around a long table. Steam rose from simple bowls of soup. Kiri took a seat between May and Elena. Joran sat across from her, sliding a bowl of warm broth in front of her. Kiri lifted the spoon and tasted the salty, soothing liquid. She felt the heat spread through her chest. Around her, laughter returned, and quiet stories were shared of other solar flares and past events. Each tale reminded Kiri how humans face danger with calm hearts and steady hands. Elena raised her cup. "To teamwork," she said, "and to our newest hero." The crew cheered. Kiri felt her face flush with happiness. She clinked her cup against Elena's. She remembered how lost she had been, how far she had come in just a few days. After the meal, Kiri wandered to the observation deck. The artificial sky displayed a tapestry of distant suns and swirling nebulae. She looked at May, who joined her with 2 small fruit tarts. May handed one to Kiri. "For being brave," she said. "Kiri." smiled, and took a bite. Sweet filling mingled with crisp pastry. She closed her eyes in delight. Around her, the crew moved quietly, each lost in their own thoughts under the stars. Kiri touched her locket and felt a gentle comfort. She thought of her mother and imagined her proud smile. She felt a pulse of hope. At that moment, Kiri understood something important. Belonging meant giving help when it mattered and receiving help when one needed it. She had found her place among this crew. The flare had tested them, but together they had stood strong. As the stars danced on the view screen, Kiri whispered a silent promise to help others as they had helped her hand to keep her new family safe among the stars. Alina stood on the bridge, studying the navigation console with a worried look. The Aurora's Hope was nearing a drifting debris field that spread across the star lane. Loose fragments of old ships and broken satellites floated in the dark. The normal route would take the freighter right through the middle of it. To go around would add days to their journey and cost extra fuel. Alina tapped her communicator. "Kiri, would you come here for a moment?" she asked. Well, Kiri, who was seated, reading a small data tablet, looked up and hurried across the deck. Her green skin glowed softly under the bridge lights. She climbed onto the small jump seat beside Alina and peered at the holomap of the debris field. Jorn and May joined them. Jorn pointed at the broken path. "We can follow this safe channel," he said, tracing a pale blue line through the field. "But it bends sharply. The ship might slow too much." Lena frowned. "We need a smoother path if possible." Kiri studied the map in silence. She remembered her mother's lessons about reading star patterns and ancient trade routes on their home world. She reached out, her small hand hovering over the holomap. Then she tapped a spot at the edge of the field and drew a gentle arc that cut closer to a cluster of large fragments but avoided them just enough. The line glowed green. Alina raised an eyebrow. "Explain your route," she said. Kiri's voice was quiet but steady. "My mother taught me that smaller gaps can be safer if you adjust speed gently. This curve stays more even, so the ship won't need to brake hard. We save fuel and time." Pressed a button and ran a quick simulation. The consoles hummed, and a slender model of the Aurora's Hope glided along Kiri's green line. It moved smoothly, its speed constant. "Watch the data readouts." "She's right," he said with a grin. "Fuel usage drops by 10%, and we save nearly a full day." Elena's eyes shone. She placed a hand gently on Kiri's shoulder. "Well done," she said. Kiri's chest swelled with pride. She had helped the crew with her mother's old knowledge. As the ship veered into the new path, Kiri moved to the observation window. The stars outside danced past, and the scattered metal glinted in the freighter's spotlights. The corridor framed her small figure, and she felt the steady hum of the engines beneath her feet. She reached up to touch the locket that held her mother's picture. It felt warm against her skin. Later that afternoon, the crew held a small lesson for Kiri in the mess hall. Urin and Elena set up maps of other nearby star lanes. Each map had old trade routes and hazard zones. They asked Kiri to mark safe passages. She worked with quiet concentration, tracing lines and labeling choke points. Crew members walked by and offered thumbs up or soft cheers. May brought in a tray of fruit and warm pastries. She set them on the long table. "Energy for our navigator," she said with a laugh. Kiri took a pastry, then joined the others at the table. They discussed how to share these routes with other freighters along their trade network. Kiri realized that her mother's skills could help many people, not just her small crew. That evening, Alina invited Kiri to the hydroponic garden. Rows of green leaves glowed under soft lamps. Alina handed her a small pruning tool. Together, they trimmed yellowed leaves and encouraged new growth. As Kiri worked, Alina spoke softly of hope and resilience. "Just as these plants grow through careful tending, we all grow when someone believes in us," she said. Kiri paused and looked at Alina. She understood the truth in those words. In the days since her rescue, she had grown stronger, braver, and kinder. She had helped fix pumps, guide the ship, and comfort the crew. She felt part of a family that spanned the stars at night. Kiri stood on the observation deck, watching the drifting fields fade behind them. The stars shone bright and steady. She touched the locket and whispered her mother's name. A soft sense of peace filled her heart. She knew her mother's teachings lived on in her, and with each star they passed, she carried both her past, and her new family forward proof that humanity's kindness and courage could guide anyone through the darkest reaches of space. Kiri awoke to the gentle vibration of the freighter's engines. Morning light filtered through the observation window, painting the deck in soft gold. Today, the Aurora's hope would reach the starport of New Meridian, where supplies and visitors waited. Yet Kiri felt a tug in her heart, a mix of excitement and fear. She realized this day would bring a choice, to stay with these humans or seek a life among her own kind. She dressed quickly and carried her mother's locket to the bridge. Captain Alina stood by the holomap, studying the schedule. Kiri Alina offered a warm smile. "Good morning," she said. Kiri stepped forward, her small hand clutching the locket. "Starport soon," she said in the human tongue she had learned. Alina nodded. "Yes, we will arrive in just 1 hour." Joran and May joined them. Joran tapped a small console. "Approach corridor clear," he said. "We should be at dock in 40 minutes." Kiri listened to their easy teamwork and felt both pride and nervousness. She remembered how lost she had been, drifting alone in broken metal. Now she had friends who cared for her. In the hydroponic garden, Kiri paused among the green leaves. Each plant stood tall, reaching toward the lights above. She gently touched a young vine, recalling how Alina had taught her kindness through simple acts of care. The memory filled her with warmth. She exhaled softly and released the vine. It swayed as if in farewell as the ship descended into the starport's docking bay. Kiri stood beside Alina on the bridge. Through the front window, she saw a bustling scene, other freighters, robotic cranes, and busy workers in bright suits. Strange voices echoed over loudspeakers. People hurried along. Catwalks. Kiri's heart pounded. She had never seen so many beings in one place. Alina placed a comforting hand on Kiri's shoulder. "Are you ready?" she asked. Kiri swallowed hard and nodded. They moved to the airlock and stepped onto a short shuttle that carried them down to the docking ring. The shuttle's door opened with a soft hiss. Kiri stepped out and felt solid ground beneath her feet for the first time in days. Bright lights framed the huge hangar. Workers paused to greet the crew. Some knelt to offer friendly bows to Kiri. She hesitated, then returned their bows with a shy smile. A supply officer handed her a small tray of fresh fruit slices. Kiri tasted a piece and felt the sweet juice flood her senses. She closed her eyes and savored the moment. Amid the bustle of loading and unloading, a small group of her own species approached. Their blue-green skin and angular features were familiar to Kiri. They spoke in soft tones and raised hopeful eyes. Kiri's chest tightened. She realized they had followed her distress call and tracked the freighter. One of them, a slender figure with silver hair, stepped forward and spoke in Kiri's native tongue. "We came as soon as we could. Your family and people miss you." Kiri looked between the visitors and the human crew. Memories of home flooded her mind. Green fields beneath twin suns. Her mother's gentle laughter, friends at play among flowering trees. She longed to return. Yet she also felt the warmth of Elena's kindness, the steady strength of Joran's friendship, and May's gentle support. Her chest felt full and heavy with choice. Alina spoke softly in the human language, and repeated in Kiri's tongue, "You have 2 homes now, one among your people and one with us. Whatever you choose, you will always belong." Kiri bowed her head and closed her eyes. She felt both worlds within her heart. After a long silence, Kiri opened her eyes. She lifted her locket and held it before her. Then she turned toward her people and stepped forward. "I thank you," she said, voice trembling but clear. "You are my kin. I will return one day." She bowed deeply to them, their faces lit with understanding and respect. Kiri then turned toward the human crew. She placed the locket in Elena's hand. "My mother's locket belongs with you," she said. You gave me hope when I had none. I choose to stay. Tears of gratitude filled her eyes. Alina pressed the locket to her heart and smiled through her own tears. May wrapped Kiri in a soft embrace. Joran gently clapped her shoulder. Round them, the freighter crew cheered quietly. In the great hangar of New Meridian, Kiri found her answer. She belonged among both stars and kind hearts. And as the Aurora's hope prepared to depart, Kiri knew her journey had only just begun, guided by memory, hope, and the boundless spirit of humanity.